want me to do it with you?
Yeah, I think we're going to do it together.
What's up, Ego Hackers? Looks like we got some takers. Let's see.
No.
You want me live on YouTube?
Sure.
Cool.
So do we just stand here?
Let me get your microphone.
Phone? Okay.
Microphone.
Okay.
Not to be held, but to be put on you.
Okay, you put it on. Okay. And I'll just stand really fucking close to you.
What am I supposed to do? Okay.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, sound's coming in. Show's good. So here's how it's going to work. I'm just going to be like, hey, tell us about yourself. You know, that's all it is.
Oh.
And then we'll do the reading. Audience
Okay.
likes to know like who they're talking to, whatever. If you got an Instagram or anything that you want to shout out or whatever, they'll probably like follow you and shit, you know,
Cool.
if you like that.
Okay.
So just whatever. So what's your name?
My name's Natalie.
Yeah, Natalie. Where
Yeah.
you from?
Coeur d'Alene, born and raised.
Trying to escape Coeur d'Alene like everyone else?
In a way, yeah. I'm a recent college grad from U of I,
Cool.
Moscow.
Yeah, U of I, huh?
Yeah.
What'd you learn down there?
Interior architecture design.
Really? Why?
I love.
That sounds great.
Yeah, thank you. I love designing and I love art and just the whole aspect of homes and designs is what really drove me into that career. So,
Yeah, what motivated you in that? How are you inspired in that kind of thing? Was it like something you always wanted to do as a little girl, or is it just something
A
that
little
happened, or?
yeah, like my dad owns a construction company, so I was always surrounded by home and construction and design, and so I think that like drives me and driven me into the career I am today.
But it wasn't like the whole plan, it just sort of happened?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I didn't know this would be an interview, but
Oh, no need to be an interview. It's
No.
fine.
Yeah,
But,
so-
I mean, if anything else you're interested in sharing?
no, that's about it.
That's about it, huh?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
say.
You ready for your reading?
Sure. What's the reading entailing?
Oh, I'm going to take your soul. I'm going to expose your soul to the entire audience. How you think, how you feel, how you make decisions, what you're afraid of, what you're worried of, all those things.
Do I want to do that? Is
It's
she
going to be
next?
fun. Yeah, she's next.
Are you
I'm
like?
just observing. Do you guys want to
I might pass on that.
No, don't be paranoid.
Well, it sounds like very like.
It's amazing.
Scary.
You're all about what you want. You're all about your mood. You make decisions based on how you feel. You care so much about your reputation, your status around other people. You're afraid of failure, afraid of people not sticking around for you, worried that people will betray you and they won't want you anymore.
No.
Very critical towards your own thinking on a regular basis, such that when you were younger, oftentimes you'd question whether or not you're actually stupid, but you know you're not. And you go out of your
Damn.
way to
Damn.
find out if they're, you got to find out what other people think in the process.
All right. Well, thank you for your opinion.
Yeah. Enjoy yourself. Gets a little scary.
For them, maybe.
What's up, folks? Little INTJ didn't like being out INTJ'd.
What's that?
I was talking to the audience. Yeah. Feel free to interrupt when it's necessary. Or you could be on the show, sir. They would love you on the show. So you can watch my little parlor tricks. So, all right, cool. What's up, Ego Hackers? Welcome to the show, CS Joseph Podcast. I'm your host, CS Joseph, and tonight's question, acolyte question, is how can an ESTP woman find happiness? Especially given that, ESTP women in today's day and age actually struggle with finding happiness. I should know because I was married to one, so that's kind of like what happened. But yeah, how can an ESTP woman find happiness? Now, honestly, we have some resources that you guys could check out right away. You can check out the season 19 episode for ESTPs, which is personal development. It's cognitive integration that's available in the Discover the 16 Types. And yeah, you could just find that at csjoseph.live/portal. You could check that out on the show there. csjoseph.live/portal. Discover the 16 types. Just buy it. It's like $87. You'll get access to all of season 19 and season 14 part 1, which is Golden Pairs. So check that out. And the other place you could do that is basically like season 19 part 2, which is the Ego Hacking Your Fear course. And that's at egohackingyourfear.com. So yeah. And I am joined with a live studio audience today who's sitting on the park bench. Who's an INTJ and he doesn't want to be on the show, which is too bad. So yeah. People a little freaked out tonight. Hello, Sonny boy. Hello. So yeah. Good evening, Mr. Lucas. Good evening. Alright, so ESTPs, finding happiness. Ego Hacking Your Fear actually discusses this at length, especially with the concept known as the silver bullet. But ESTPs really struggle. They struggle with loneliness. ESTP women especially are going to be struggling with loneliness because we live in a culture nowadays where ESTP women are basically shat on all the time because they're so naturally masculine and no one taught them how to be feminine, because then you have naturally feminine types like ISFJs, for example, who are naturally feminine, and that can be a problem over time, you know. So yeah, they're always struggling with loneliness. They're always struggling, you know, because they have the cognitive origin of intimacy, the most external of all the types, right? So their entire life is based on other people's reactions and other people's feedback towards them. And that's really what they utilize to judge themselves. And then they also don't even know how they feel due to FI trickster, which ends up becoming a serious problem as well. Very serious problem. So yeah, how do you solve that? On top of the fact that, you know, they're afraid of making the wrong choice all the time, and because of that, especially when it comes to relationships, they have a hard time attaching to other people, you know. But, you know, like ESTPs, like they try to have like these careers, ESTP women, you know, it's like, okay, I'm not exactly accepted by society. I'm too raunchy for everybody. I'm too pragmatic for everybody. I'm too independent for everybody. And yeah, I like to party hard or whatever, you know. Sometimes I like to get into drugs, as Soul Temple does, you know, but at the end of the day, it's really hard being an ESTP woman. There's like a study coming out talking about how by 2040, like the very, very vast majority of working age women will be alone and not actually in a relationship. And ESTP women are probably going to be at the top of the list, basically, in my opinion, in terms of like being alone and being lonely, etc. And like my heart goes out to them. You know, they're my kindred relationship. When it comes to ESTP women, I can't help but like be kind to them. I just can't. I always try my hardest to be kind to them because I know how hard they got it. They got it real hard. Being naturally masculine, you know, for a woman, where it's, you know, causes you to be naturally emasculating to men is pretty rough. Like, especially, you know, when your cognitive origin is bonds and connection and intimacy, it's really hard for an ESTP woman to actually get into a relationship with a man, especially in this culture, in this Western society. It's extremely difficult. So yeah, it's a problem. It's a big problem. So, no, Casonas, I would prefer not. Gonna say no to that. We're hoping some drunk people come up while I'm delivering this speech or whatever, so I could psychoanalyze them for y'all. Had a few takers, but they got a little scared. So, it's alright. C.S. Joseph is a bit terrifying for most people. Way terrifying. So yeah. What's up, Victoria? So ESTP women got it really hard, like, and because they're so masculine, you know what I've noticed about them is that, like, people judge them in ways they shouldn't be judged all the time. This happened to Railgun a lot, actually, where ESTP women, people just assume that they're like so masculine, they're so butch, they just assume that they're lesbian or whatever, which is bullshit, you know. It's like society goes out of the way to cut them, you know, apart from their femininity, basically. And they're not even given the chance to be feminine, which is bullshit. It's really, what's up, Jason, bro? Love you, bro. Jason is one of my most favorite people in the ego hacker community. He's a really dope dude. Really like him a lot. ENFP fellow. But so yeah, like they also like oftentimes, you know, parents don't even know what to do with ESTP women, because it's like then they just push ESTP women towards careers, basically, maybe even masculine careers, which further feeds into the idea that, you know, hey, they should actually be masculine, you know, and they're already naturally masculine as is. You know, it's not like having an ISFJ or an ESFJ daughter who's naturally feminine, basically. And then they get all of the feminine trappings, the feminine teaching, the feminine investment by parents or society or their church or their community or whatever, right? And that happens a lot. They're usually raised by INTJs, as noted by Miss Kia in the chat. But yeah, it ends up continuing to be an issue for them over and over and over. So oftentimes they end up being set up for failure. And this is why I've noticed, like, almost every ESTP woman I have actually met are unconscious developed. They're not even subconscious developed. And it's like the most annoying thing in the world, you know, how Western society just consistently churns out ESTP women with bad childhoods over and over and over, and their subconscious is just consistently crushed over and over and over. So my heart goes out to them. They're my kindred, and honestly, I have no choice but to really be kind to them. I'm compelled to be kind to the ESTP woman because I can just feel her pain. You know, being an ENTP, also with extroverted feeling child, it's just like, yeah, I totally get it. I get it. You know, I'm already a pariah as is by default, you know, being that pariah and whatnot, but it ends up becoming like a big issue. Well, you know, even Megan Fox has a lot of problems. Like, come on. Yeah, Machine Gun Kelly's an ENTP, and they're both ETPs. They're in a kindred relationship in as much as Railgun and I was in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it ends up becoming a problem. So, how can an INFP man humble an ESTP or ISTP woman? By being sympathetic, literally. But that's the point I'm trying to make. Like, society does not give sympathy to ESTP women. So ESTP women oftentimes feel like they're being gaslit into always being on the take because they always have to end up being surviving all the time. That's why I end up with UDSF and UDUF ESTP girls consistently. And then they're taken advantage of and used all the time. It's like, it's a really shitty situation. And despite my differences with Railgun, it's just like, I don't like being a person that contributes to the problem, you know, when it comes to the ESTP women of the world. I don't like being the person that contributes to the problem because they so desperately want connection, but they oftentimes end up having like a ton of attachments to the wrong people. And they're still at risk of corruption through their INFJ subconscious and whatnot, but they had different priorities. And it's so hard for their extroverted feeling child to even find a lick of acceptance around other people. So from their perspective, it's like, okay, well, if I just make myself as desirable as possible, you know, like Megan Fox, for example, maybe I'll make it. Or if I'm a good person and go out of my way to be a good person as much as possible, you know, maybe someone will look over the fact that I'm naturally masculine and actually give me a chance. Maybe some guy will give me a chance, right? But most of the time, ESTP women are consistently treated like their side action. Consistently treated like their side action. Never really the main girl, basically. And that sucks. That sucks a lot, right? They're never the main girl. They're always just side action. They're always consistently treated like they're some pump and dump, and never like actually a legit person or whatever. And it's like they're already struggling with their sense of identity to begin with because they're part of the soul temple, right? And that would suck. That would suck a lot. So it sucks to be an ESTP woman. It really actually does, you know. Sure, there's a lot of benefits that women get in society, but honestly, like ESTP women, they're like the odd man out, you know. And as much as like I'm the odd man out among men in general, you know, typically, they're the odd woman out in terms of women, right? Because, you know, my type, the ENTP, I'm naturally feminine, and I actually had to learn masculinity as like a learned behavior, right? That was a problem. It was a problem for me. It took a long ass time for me to actually develop that, because a lot of my mentors were effeminate men, right? A lot of them. You know, my ENTJ mentor was kind of that way, but he grew out of it, thank God. He got through it. And then my ENFP mentor started out, you know, with his wrath, deadly sin, and then he became, you know, but he grew into becoming effeminate over time, which poor guy, you know. My ESTP mentor, he kept it together. My INFJ mentor also kept it together. But then after that, there was my ISTP mentor and then my INTJ mentor. And those two guys, you know, they were effeminate men ever since I learned, I was around them, and then whatever. But the point is that, like, personally in my life as a feminine type, the ENTP man, I never actually had a good, you know, masculine role model, you know. And that's the thing, like, ESTP women, they just don't have a good feminine role model. You know, this is one of the reasons why we have our nonprofit, to help the feminine men become more masculine and to help the masculine women become more feminine. And because of just how society works with enabling everyone's ego investments, because the way society is structured, it's just like, well, okay, apparently, you know, from a societal issue, you know, all of society is structured to produce one outcome, one goal, and that is the reduction of the population. That is the reduction of people being born, and also the reduction of the elderly, basically. You might want to look up The Complete Life System by Cass Sunstein, because he's the guy who came up with the idea, basically, which is quite Malthusian. You might want to look up Robert Malthus, but that is intentionally what society is basically all about. Dang, that's good. It's my favorite one. So can an ESTP woman be happy? Yes, it is possible. It is possible. The thing is, though, is that it comes down to learned behavior versus natural behavior. That's what I'm trying to get. That's my point is basically about learned behavior versus natural behavior, okay? It is written, the first will be last and the last will be first. Jesus said that, right? Jesus said that. And for the Muslim community of the ego hackers, Isa said that you know, the first will be last, last will be first. And so, you know, when I started out, I was super feminine. I became masculine. When ESTP women start out, they're super masculine. and they have to learn the learned behavior of being feminine, and they have to see the value of being feminine. So inshallah, as God wills it. So yeah. So it's a struggle. Like, I have to go through my own struggle, but they have their own struggle. They have their own quote unquote cross to bear, basically. ESFP women know. No, Death Knight Dan, they do not have the same problem. And the reason they don't have the same problem is because at least an ESFP woman has introverted feeling, and they naturally express their feelings as a woman should. The thing is that ESTP women are stifled by society, gaslit by their nuclear families, by society, by their church, by whatever environment they are in within Western society, basically, to believe that their feelings don't matter, that their feelings are a burden, basically, and they should just shut up, right? Because when they express their feelings, they're interest-based and they're outcome, right? So they're constantly looking for outcomes. So based on their interaction style alone, according to the type grid, these women basically find themselves in this situation where they're naturally going for an outcome, but that's the problem. When a woman is trying to get an outcome out of a man and is direct about what that outcome actually is, what ends up happening is that they end up getting overlooked. They're just assumed by everyone to be emasculating, and it is technically emasculating. They are naturally emasculating, and that's the problem. That's a problem consistently that they have to face. So they have to learn feminine behavior. So what is feminine behavior? What do they have to learn? So it comes down to a certain chain of custody of books is like where I've been able to like actually figure out, what the solution to the problem is potentially. Oh look, an ESTP woman just now walked by. Funny. But basically what ends up going down is that it's like, hey, from this chain of custody, it comes from Dr. Robert Glover, author of No More Mr. Nice Guy, and then he wrote also Dating Essentials for Men, right? But like, where's the dating essentials for women? The mature feminine is completely destroyed. Why? Because the mature masculine is destroyed. The mature feminine doesn't need to exist if the mature masculine doesn't exist, because where men lead, women follow. So from a societal perspective, until masculinity returns, there's not ever going to be a mature feminine around to teach the masculine women the learned behaviors that they need to be feminine. Because otherwise an ESTP woman is not going to be happy, because she's not learning how to be radiant. She's not learning her feminine, basically, which is a huge problem. Because they're always aware of what everyone else is getting out of things, right? And they're also aware of what specific outcomes they want, especially from men. And they're also triple direct. So they're going to be direct with their men about and try to direct men and try to lead men into getting the outcome that they want. This is natural emasculation. This is a woman being emasculating. And these ESTP women cannot help it because it's naturally who they are. And there is no actual support structure for them to learn how to be feminine. Well, the next name in the chain of custody is G.S. Youngblood. He wrote The Masculine in Relationship. But where is the book, The Feminine Relationship, right? But then the next person in the chain of custody is Zach Rody. Yes, Angelina Jolie is an ESTP. Yes. Which is cool. It's getting a little cold right now, so let's make an adjustment to my coldness real quick while I do this. So yeah. So basically, from that point of view, there's no support structure, they can't learn it. But the next guy, that's Zach Grody. He wrote Irresistibly Feminine, Worthy Woman, Show Him Your Heart, and also Inspire His Devotion. And that's ultimately what any woman wants, a devoted man, a man who is devoted to her, right? So they have to learn feminine communication. Luckily, they can just read Zach Roede's book, R-O-E-D-D-E, and get like the instruction manual on how to be feminine, basically. And then they actually have to practice feminine communication, which requires FI mastery as an ESTP woman, which is super hard. FI mastery is super hard because they're so external, relying on everyone else's reactions, relying on everyone else's feedback in order for them to derive their own identity, while simultaneously being direct to everyone else and trying to get outcomes from men, which is emasculating, because that's just their natural interaction style. But it's so off-putting to men in general that men just put them in the sex-only category, basically, instead of the main girl category. So by default, they don't inspire devotion from a man. They don't inspire a man who's willing to give them a ring, right? Willing to make them the mother of his children, basically. And that ends up becoming a problem consistently. And it's sad. It's very sad. And I see it happen over and over and over. Actually, for example, the bartender that works here at the Beacon, that's Shaylee. She's actually on the show a couple of weeks back. You know, really awesome ESTP woman, but you could just feel her pain while I'm typing random people with her in that one live stream or whatever. And that was really hard. It's extremely difficult, you know. So what I had to do is actually like try and create a support structure. Because here's the thing, you know, my number one mission is to eliminate fatherlessness, according to the prophet Malachi. Malachi prophesied, and it said, in the last days I'll send the prophet Elijah to you before the great day of the Lord. He will turn the hearts of fathers to their sons, the hearts of sons to their fathers, or else I'll strike the earth with a decree of utter destruction, right? So we're at risk of losing the earth if we can't bring back masculinity, basically. That's what that means. And fatherlessness is not going to stop unless we bring back masculinity. Because masculinity is necessary for men to be leading, and where men lead, women follow. Because if the mature masculine returns, then the mature feminine returns, and then all of a sudden, ESTP women have that support structure. So that's why with our nonprofit, we have our men's group, we have our women's group, where we teach the men masculinity, and we teach the women femininity, basically. And that's what we do. If you want to get in on that, it's free, Go to discord.gg/egohackers. Join the Discord server. Message Stephanie or Jolly if you're a woman to gain access to the women's group, or message Potsy if you want access to the men's group, basically, or Fib. Fib the Rizzler. The man who just exudes Riz by default. Man after my own heart, right? Man, oftentimes I wish I was more like that guy. Oh my God. He's got the most natural Riz I've ever seen in a person. Unbelievable what he's been able to accomplish. That guy just goes out in public and girls just gotta have them some Fib. They gotta have them a slice of Fib all the time. And well, a lot of people are like, oh, that's just Fib. He's not a high value man. They're like, oh yeah, he is. Fib absolutely is. That's for damn sure. But everyone's just so shallow, so they can't understand that. They don't understand his potential or whatever. So yeah, that's what ends up happening. But whatever. So yeah, that's why we created this support structure in the Ego Hacker community for women like ESTP women, to be able to learn femininity. So, but I'll just kind of give you like a basic run through of femininity. It's all about expressing and being permissive to express. But since when do you see an ESTP woman asking permission to do anything? Since when does that actually happen? You know what I'm saying? When do you actually see that? It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen very often. But they have to be willing to express. They have to learn feminine expression, which is expressing how they feel, expressing their needs, expressing their feelings, expressing their desires, expressing their problems, to give men in their lives the opportunity to solve those problems, right? But why would they? Because ESTP women, for example, they like to see themselves as problem solvers, and if someone else is solving their problem, they just naturally think they're being a burden. Plus, they've possibly been gaslit by their family and society in general that their feelings are a burden, so why bother actually sharing their feelings? Since when does their feelings actually matter, right? So they give up. That's the thing about anti-inferior. Anti-inferior gives up way too easily. It gives up way too easily. And that can be a problem. In fact, it is a problem consistently. So, all right, I'm just checking on Laser Gun right now. She's cool. So yeah. I'm always watching out for Laser Gun just in case. Always watching out for her. She's got my devotion. That's for sure. That woman's got my devotion. And she's got my devotion so much that I was actually accused of like being whipped, and it's like, no, I'm just being a masculine man. That's the problem with the red pill community. Like, you know, they don't understand masculine idealism. It's like the missing piece to red pill praxeology. I wish like Tomasi or some of the other red pillars would actually talk about masculine idealism and why it's actually important, right? So it ends up being like a big ass thing, you know. But like, hey, you know, if a man's in love, he's in love. Let him be in love. You know what I'm saying? The thing is that he's just got to be leading properly, you know. It's always got to be leading. He can't be tentative, you know, like women are. Women are tentative, but men should not be tentative at all. You know, that's literally what it comes down to. But you can learn more about that in the book, How to Be a 3% Man. I think that should actually be added to the requirements list for the men's group, honestly. The men's group actually read way more and have a much larger requirements list than the women's group does, that's for sure. Because femininity is actually quite simple, whereas masculinity is actually extremely complex. So, big thing. Oh, who gives a shit about being alpha? Who gives a shit about being beta? Who gives a shit about being sigma? Honestly, like, as I learned recently, that's kind of just like chick crack, but for men, you know. When we really should be focusing on the mature masculine, king, warrior, magician, lover, right? Or the mature feminine, queen, mother, matron, lover, right? Those types of things, you know what I'm saying? And it's the complex men, they're the ones that got the riz, right? They're the ones that get the girls. They're the ones that could potentially find an ESTP woman and teach her how to be feminine, right? So, oh, Laser Gun, you know, Laser Gun, I love me some Laser Gun. So yeah, that's what it comes down to. That's like basically what the problem is. But if an ESTP woman actually learns how to be feminine, that's the key for her actually being able to be, no, Laser Gun is not my daughter. She's not my daughter, what the hell? She's a very special woman in my life, you know? So yeah. But the point is, you know, Point is, it's just like, hey, try to understand that, as an ESTP woman, it's your responsibility to get the learned behaviors of what it should be to be feminine, right? That's ultimately the key to an ESTP woman's happiness, because at that point, then her cognitive origin of connection, intimacy, and bonds actually comes out. It actually comes out, right? Because then her anti-inferior is not getting attached, right? Because attachment is what, and it's so easy for an ESTP woman to get attached to people. Attachment is when people are draining her and taking from her without giving anything back. What she really is looking for is bonds. And bonds they are like two-way street relationships. She gives a lot, but she receives a lot, right? And that's the thing. But that will only happen if she learns femininity and practices her femininity. That's the only way. It's the only way. Otherwise, she's going to be alone, she's going to be lonely, she's going to be miserable. She's going to try to self-medicate as a result of that, relying on drugs, for example, relying on cheap attachments, and then she'll find herself in an endless cycle where she's a pump and dump over and over and over. And it sucks. And again, that's why ESTP women just end up endless pump and dumps. And it's like, no man ends up wanting them because they're just so naturally emasculating. But that's why, within the ego hacker community, we're going out of our way to try to not rehabilitate them, but actually habilitate them, to give them the proper habit of being masculine or feminine, basically, because they have to learn it. It's a learned behavior to them. Just like it's a learned behavior to ENTJs, a learned behavior to INTJs, and a learned behavior for ISTPs. At least ENTJs, I think out of all the masculine women, the ISTP has it the easiest, whereas the ESTP has it the hardest, right? And INTJ women have it the second hardest. Throughout my life and my experiences, my golden pair, women in the Western society who are my golden pair, are just entirely, they're very emasculating, putting their career above everyone else. I broke up with an INTJ woman over it because she decided to join the military instead of follow my lead. And I'm like, okay, you don't want to follow my lead, but then you want to join the military because it'll, quote, make an impact, right? And that's BB Gun. BB Gun, she wanted to join the military, and I'm like, what, you want to join the military? So you want to follow some random ESTJ guy or ISTJ guy in the military who's just going to spout orders to you, and you're going to have to follow those orders? You're going to follow someone's lead somewhere, It ends up becoming a problem, right? So what the hell? Like, what the hell is someone to do in that particular situation, And it sucks. It really sucks to be them. Society is anti-ESTP woman by default, as much as society is anti-ENTP man. Western society, that is. The beast that rises from the sea. That's Western society. But that's how they solve it. That's how they'll have the only chance at being happy. They have to learn the skill to inspire a man's devotion so that she's just not side chick all the time. You know what I'm saying? It's horrible. Because what men will do is like, hey, I got two categories of girls. One category is the girl that I'm devoted to, or the girls that I'm devoted to, right? Versus the other category, which is, these are just the girls that I have sex with, that's all, right? The pump and dump list, right? That sucks. Sucks to be them, So yeah, that's the answer to that question. I have beat that dead horse pretty hard. So yeah. Oh, Diamond 111. I'm sorry, you feel low. Join the women's group. or take on these resources, you know. So if you folks have any questions relating to these concepts in the stream, why not? Go ahead and ask. I'll be happy to answer some questions if you want to ask some questions. Just keep it on topic, you know what I'm saying? Keep it on topic. Bailey Sarian and Trueheim, makeup lady. She's feminine enough. All right, well, that's cool. I noticed that ESTP women oftentimes end up like nurses a lot, or EMTs. They got to deal with like being judged incorrectly on a regular basis, you know? So, yeah. Pray for the dead horses. Yeah, I know, right? This is a really good cigar. All right. Is happiness related to doing hobbies, charity work? For an ESTP woman, no, because her cognitive origin is connection, but she doesn't know how to connect, and she will never know how to connect unless she practices her femininity, basically, right? And, you know, ESTP women is just like, they have the struggle. It's like, well, I have to be fake in order to survive. I have to be fake in order to get through this society. What about lesbian ESTP women? Like, honestly, I don't really... Mostly lesbian ESTP women are just gaslit into being lesbian because everyone assumes that they're being lesbian when they're not actually lesbian. They'd be happy to follow a man's lead. They'd be happy to receive a man's devotion if they knew how to inspire it. So yeah, that's how that works. Consistently. This cigar is almost done. Got any questions? If you guys don't got questions, I'll end the stream and I might start another one. I might not. Who knows? Oh, I like ESTPs too, bruh. 101. Lol. They peak in middle school? I didn't peak in middle school. What the hell are you talking about? I didn't do that. I was a loser. Complete loser. I didn't start not being a loser until I was 27. That's how long it took. Well, actually 25 technically, but because I started asserting myself in my life and how I wanted to live it, I ended up losing it all. You know, everything that I had basically was taken away from me because I dared be different. So yeah. I'm having a nice little cigar pile down here. All right, so it looks like you guys don't have any more questions, so I think it's time I move on to the next topic. How cold do you think it will be during EgoCon? It'll be very cold, John Fury. Absolutely. Do ESTPs like people around them to be happy? Yes, they do. Yes, they do like people around them to be happy. Yes, absolutely. They always want to receive that positive feedback, but they're never really going to receive the positive feedback from a man with which they can get their cognitive origin of connection and intimacy and bonds from, unless they are actually like feminine. Yeah, EgoCon is our first convention. It's going to be in October, at the end of October. If you want to get in on EgoCon and get your name on the list, you better join the Discord, discord.gg/egohackers. Simran, hey, it looks like we had a question. Should men expect to get less when they have bonds? No. Because men tend to give a lot more than they get, right? Well, sure they do, but that's the thing, like, don't be a monogamist and that won't be a problem. You know, be polygynist, which is the male sexual strategy anyway. Be polygynist. If you want to learn more about polygyny and how polygyny actually works, read the book titled The Red Tent. It's a historical fiction. I highly recommend it. So yeah, definitely check that out as much as you can, whenever you can, basically. I'm getting a little thirsty. Maybe I should have a drink of some kind here. Let's see if I have a drink. I got a drink right here. Cool, I'll have a drink. So Victoria asks, if ESTP negatively transitioned into their superego and assumed loyalty and almost cut off a relationship with an ENTJ, how can she fix it now, realizing the assumption that was inaccurate? Well, it's hard. She has to really go out of her way to use her extroverted thinking critic and actually ask opinions of people that she trusts consistently around her. So, all right. Is men being poly means they have to? I don't know what that means, dude. How can he care for her ESTP mother as an INFJ? Will Ego Khan be live on YouTube? I don't know. We haven't decided that yet. I'm not sure if we'll do that this year. We might. I'm going to have to talk to the event organizer, which is Jay Patel. It's been pretty great of him to offer that up for Ego Khan. You know, so yeah. All right, Must 31. What's the biggest flaw in INFPs? That's sloth, the deadly sin of sloth. All right, let's see. Wes asks, could the mature masculine come and go in cycles like the Strauss and Howe theory? No, it never really did up until like the invention of hormone birth control, actually. So no, hormone birth control destroyed the mature masculine entirely. So, all right. Any more questions? Any more questions? Anyone? Nope. No more questions. Cool. All right. I love you too, Yuri. Yeah. All right. So, thanks for watching and listening. Like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next episode, which may be in a few minutes. Who knows? Who knows? So, see y'all later.